how good this guy is as his age advances. I wish I knew what he was doing. I would grab some of it, man.
Welcome to the Jump. First of all, Jackie, you have lost nothing off your fastball. You need no advice from anyone. Welcome to the Jump. I am Rachel Nichols, indeed, alongside the Hall of Famer, Ms. Jackie McMullen, and NBA champ Kendrick Perkins. Coming up later in the show, I am going to ask Perk and Jackie which stock they would rather have more of right now, the Celtics or the Heat, because they square off tonight right here on ESPN. First, though, for years now, it has been painful to be a Knicks fan. And yeah, the losing has been part of it. There has been so much losing. The Knicks entered this season with the worst record in the entire NBA over the last 6 years. They not only have the longest active playoff drought in the Eastern Conference, every other East team has made the playoffs at least twice since New York last did. Still, even the losing might not be what stings as much as the way the franchise has gone about it. Missing out on free agents while throwing wheelbarrows full of cash at the wrong ones. Draft boards that look like plates of scrambled eggs. Switching coaches every time the wind changes. New York has had 8 head coaches in the past 10 years. And of course, don't forget the lack of respect that the franchise has shown for some of the faces that fans have loved the most. Charles Oakley, Carmelo Anthony, Spike Lee. At times, the bar in New York has seemed so low, a turtle could jump over it, and yet the franchise still never seemed to manage it, which is what makes what has been happening over the past 10 months so fascinating. Starting in March with the hire of President Leon Rose, the Knicks have been doing, yes, say it with me, the right thing over and over. They hired a coach in Tom Thibodeau who had a track record for building the exact kind of team culture the Knicks have been so desperately in need of. They drafted smart more than once. And when free agency came around, they neither overspent on a has-been star nor filled the roster with players who all play the same position. And we have already seen the results. Entering tonight's game against Utah, the Knicks have won 4 of their last 5. They are above 500 after 7 games, the first time that's happened since the 2012-2013 season. This Knicks team is also tougher than any we've seen in a while, especially defensively, where they are now tied for 10th in the league after sitting at 23rd last season. They play quicker, they share the ball more, especially Julius Randle, who has undergone his own metamorphosis. You remember Randle last season, right? All that dribble before plowing into triple team coverage, the lack of energy on defense at times. Well, Randle gets a lot of credit for coming back this season in better shape and with a renewed hunger for rebounding. But it's more than that. Randle is passing the ball in a way we have never seen him do before. His 7.5 assists per game, that is on pace to double his prior career high. And while it's not clear yet just how sustainable the rest of these numbers are, if Randle can truly transform into a point forward, it unlocks so much of everyone else's game. Indeed, we've already seen the growth from R.J. Barrett. We've seen flashy fun from rookie Emmanuel Quickley, steadying vet play from Austin Rivers. By the way, when those two are on the court together, fans have taken to nicknaming the duo Quivers, which is just fantastic. It was Quickley who's shown in the Knicks' last game, a win over the Hawks, in which he played almost the entire fourth quarter and finished with 16 points off the bench. And don't forget Mitchell Robinson, who recently credited the coaching staff with teaching him how to better position his hands to stay out of foul trouble. Something that's been particularly important as injuries have made it even more crucial for the team's better players to be able to stay on the floor. Of course, this is a Thibodeau team, which means that the Knicks' best players are on the floor a lot. Barrett and Randle ranked number 1 and 2 in the entire league in playing time so far this season. But they're both young enough they should be able to handle it, and the consistency that all that playing time brings has been a big part of establishing the new way the team is doing things, which is really the key, right? Because yes, it is nice to be winning instead of losing. But even if the Knicks go through another bad stretch sometime this season, and they probably will, it finally feels like fans can have some faith in the way the team is being run. Winds of change, indeed. All right, guys. It is a new day in New York. Maybe we're going to introduce a new segment here on The Jump called Good Story or Good Team. So, Kendrick, you heard me talk about the Knicks, why they have been a good story this season. But is that all they are? Or are they actually a good team that we will be talking about all season long?
No, Rachel, they are actually a good team. Listen, we are finally saying something good about the Knicks. What has been over a decade that we've been talking nothing but bad things about the Knicks, and here they are. And it started with the hiring of Coach Tom Thibodeau. You remember when everyone had all these questions about Coach Tibbs? Was he going to be able to adjust? And you remember I told you on the show right when he got hired, I said Tibbs had time to reflect on himself and learn the new generation, and it shows on the court. One thing you know about Tom Thibodeau is that he's going to demand guys to play defense at the highest level, and that's what the Knicks have been doing. He's going to prepare guys. He's going to have them ready. Guys are going to know their personnel. On the offensive end, Tibbs is letting these guys be themselves. They are playing freely together. Julius Randle has always been a stud in my eyes. Now he has a coach that actually believes in not only his scoring and rebounding, but his ability to create for others. I love the way the direction that the Knicks are going in, and I said they are a sleeper pick to making the playoffs in the Eastern Conference.
Wow. So, Perk, I agree. This is a really good story. I guess my definition of a good team would be a playoff team. And while I'm as pleased as anyone watching what Tibbs has done to transform this team, and by the way, be fair, it really didn't start with Tibbs. It started with Leon Rose, who has changed the culture there, and then hired Tibbs. So let's give credit where credit is due. And I do think it's unbelievable to see the Knicks as a top 10 defensive team. I give pause and try to bring a little perspective to this only for this reason. Some of the numbers are so video game, I'm just not sure they're sustainable, including Julian Randle, who, by the way, when Tibbs was hired, I asked around, and the first thing GMs and coaches said was, wait till you see what he does with Randle. He's going to transform Randle. He's going to get Randle back on his footing, and that has all come to pass. But, you know, will Alex Burks shoot 67% from the three-point line? Can Julius Randle keep up those incredible numbers? Will Austin Rivers shoot 46% from three? Those are the numbers that are making this team what they are right now. I'm not sure they're sustainable. It doesn't take away from the fact that they're building something. And if you ask the Knicks, that's the most important thing anyway.
It has been so long and so frustrating for people who, I mean, this is an incredibly loyal fan base. I am so impressed with New York Knicks fans all the time. Everything that has been put in front of them, they still keep coming back, believing in their team. And finally, again, whether it's rewarded with the playoff berth or not, and with the play-in tournament, it's possible they could at least be in that ninth spot, right? Somewhere in there. Whether that ends there or not, just that feeling that the franchise is not wandering in the darkness the way it has been in a lot of the recent years. I just think that shows a level of respect for the fans that we have not seen in quite some time. All right, next up, we have the Orlando 5-2 team. They were a playoff team last year. Still not sure anyone expected to start this good. So is the Magic a good story or a good team?
So I think they have the potential to be both. When Jonathan Isaac went down in the bubble, he was arguably their best player, and you thought, oh boy, this is going to be tough for them. But Vucevic has more than picked up the slack. He's off to an incredible start. The problem the Magic has, and it was a problem last year too, is it's scoring. It's perimeter scoring in particular. If your name isn't Vucevic or Terrence Ross right now, nobody else can shoot from the three-point line. So what teams are going to start to do is push guys like Markelle Fultz, who's shooting about 39% from the floor, out beyond the rim and say, go on, try to beat us that way. But I love Steve Clifford's defense. I love the focus this team has. And they have, you know, their rookies have struggled a bit, like all the rookies, I think, because it's so tough not to have a preseason, all that. So I think they are still a playoff team. And Vucevic, what he's doing is just amazing.
I agree. They are a good story in my eyes. I'm a big fan of Steve Clifford. He's one of the best defensive-minded coaches in the game today. But when you look at this roster, Markelle Fultz has got off to a great start, in my opinion. The way that he's attacking the basket, rebounding at a high level, facilitating for others, pushing the pace. Aaron Gordon, he's come alive now and is finally giving the Magic what they have been expecting out of him in this short sample size that we have been witnessing. But the guy who's been the X factor besides Big Vucevic, is Terrence Ross. Terrence Ross has been coming off the bench, and he has been tearing the league up. Right now, if you had to hand the Sixth Man of the Year award to anybody, it would be him. And I'm so mad at myself because I left the Orlando Magic out of my preseason rankings in my top 8 in the Eastern Conference, and shame on me because they are a great story. They are a good team, and they will be in the playoffs this season.
Well, let's stick in the East because next up we have the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are above 500 with a 4-3 record. Perk, your old squad, one of them, are the Cavs a good story or a good team?
They're a good story. They're getting better, Rachel. But I'm a huge fan of J.B. Bickerstaff. If you look back last year, I wasn't a fan of the hiring of Beeline. I thought that he was a little bit too old for what the players they have in Garland and Colin Sexton. Listen, they drafted Colin Sexton a few years back in the lottery, and a lot of people doubted this young man. But he's a young bull. He plays with a tenacity, a chip on his shoulder, and he's getting better every single year. And I'm not surprised that the Cavs are right where they at right now, and they have been in every game that they played in, and it's because of the leadership of J.B. Bickerstaff. He demands the best out of Andre Drummond, and he has the respect of the locker room, and that goes a long way.
You're dead on with that. JB has really made a huge difference. And what do you ask of your young team? What you ask of your young players is to come back better and stronger and have taken that leap. And Colin Sexton certainly has done that. The numbers he's putting up has been great. And so has Winston Garland. Now, he's out now for a bit. But Sexland's the best nickname in the entire NBA. And so I love that, too. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. Kevin Love hasn't even played yet, really, of any consequence. So the other player that we should mention here is Isaac Okoro, who's also been out now. But when he was in there, he was very, very important to them. So if you're the Cleveland Cavaliers, what do you want to do this season? You want to identify and define your future going forward. You're on your way now with Sexton, Garland, and Isaac Okoro.
All right. Well, last but not least, again, staying in the East, I want to get to the 4-3 Atlanta Hawks. So, Jackie, are the Hawks a good story or a good team?
I think they are both. They're off to a great start. And the thing that interests me about them was they made all these moves. They added a bunch of veterans, some of whom, Gallinari and Rondo, really haven't even been able to contribute yet because of injury. And in the midst of all this, people started speculating, well, I guess there's no room for John Collins. Well, John Collins has had something to say about that. He's like at 17-5. He's putting up great numbers. And he looks like a guy that's here to stay. I mentioned that the veterans that haven't even contributed it yet, I like where this team is headed. I think they are a playoff team. Trae Young is a flat-out star. He just is.
Yep.
And we talk all about Luka Doncic. Maybe it's time to put that aside for now and just pay attention to what this kid is doing. Not just scoring, but also getting everybody else on his team involved. I really think this team is one of the most fun teams in the league right now.
I agree. It's both for me, Rachel and Jackie. When you look at the Hawks, look at the four guys, their core guys that they drafted. You're looking at Trae Young. You're looking at DeAndre Hunter. You're looking at John Collins. You're looking at Cam Reddish. All these guys have gotten better. Trae Young is a superstar, but Cam Reddish, I knew he had the offensive skill set, and I knew the future was bright for him offensively. I didn't know he was I didn't know he could defend the way he defends at the high level, the intensity that he brings. The addition of adding a guy like Clint Capella, a lob threat, a guy that can anchor the defense, protect the basket, and then John Collins, a guy that said, you know what? I'm going to roll the dice and bet on myself. He turned down a $4-year, $99 million extension to say, you know what, I'm worth more. And he's showing that now. And now you're bringing in a guy like Herter and playoff Rondo. Rondo haven't even played yet, but just his leadership being in that locker room. I'm looking at this Atlanta Hawks team, and they are very dangerous, and they arguably have the most scoring firepower in the NBA.
Well, look, we got a little bit of Rondo, at least so far. Perk, that's a great point about the draft picks, too, because the ownership made a decision, right, to stack the front office based on scouting experience as opposed to just going for a flashy name. Right. And we're seeing it. We're seeing the benefits of that, and they're an exciting team. They're a lot of fun to watch. All right, coming up on this show, we're going to give you the latest and greatest dime from Nikola Jokic, debate whether the Big Honey nickname is worthy for him. This is going to be a lot of discussion. First, though, time for our distant replay from this date, 2001.